Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. In this continuation of the Adobe Animate tutorial series, in this video I'm going to show you how to create shadows, glows, and other filters. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right now so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Alright, if you've watched the previous lessons, you'll remember that we designed this scene based on a photo. We added lighting to the scene and placed all the layers inside a single symbol, except for the light layer and the lampshade layer. Now I want to create a shadow. To do that, I'll enter the symbol layer. For example, I'll double-click on the painting. It doesn't matter which element, because the entire scene has been converted into a symbol. Now I'm inside the symbol and I can select each part separately. First, I select the canvas, zoom in a little, and apply a shadow. After selecting it, I'll go to the Properties, Filters panel. If you look closely, you'll see a plus sign plus. Click on it to reveal the list of available filters. The first option is Drop Shadow, which is used to add shadows. As soon as I click it, a shadow appears behind the painting. To increase the distance of the shadow from the painting, I'll adjust the distance value. As you can see, the shadow moves farther away. This distance looks fine for me. Then, I can change the shadow angle in the Angle section. Since the light source is on this side, the shadow needs to fall on the opposite side. By adjusting the angle, I place the shadow exactly where it should be. From the Strength option, I can make the shadow darker or lighter. After zooming in, I notice that the shadow is too dark and black. So I'll reduce the strength until it looks more natural. I can also adjust the blur of the shadow. Increasing the blur makes the shadow softer and more diffused, while decreasing it gives sharper edges. These settings depend on the scene. To make the shadow more visible, I'll increase the distance slightly. In the Shadow Color section, I can change its color green, red, or any other. But usually black looks the most natural. If I want to temporarily disable the shadow, I can click the eye icon. The shadow disappears, and clicking again will bring it back. There's also a trash bin icon to completely delete the filter if needed. Another option is Knockout. When enabled, only the shadow remains visible while the main object becomes transparent. Increasing the distance shows only the outer edge of the shadow. There is also Inner Shadow, which creates shadows inside the object instead of outside. Its angle and settings are similar to Drop Shadow. Another feature is Hide Object. When enabled, the main object disappears, leaving only its shadow behind. Finally, the Quality setting controls the sharpness of the shadow. The higher the quality, the smoother and more realistic the shadow edges appear. Now I'll reduce the distance a little so the shadow looks more natural. The same settings can be applied to other objects in the scene. For example, if I select the cushions and add a drop shadow, the effect will apply to all the cushions within that layer. After that, I can adjust distance, strength, or opacity to make the shadows look consistent with the lighting. Again, I can toggle the shadow on or off using the eye icon. Adding shadows to different objects makes the final scene more lively and realistic. Now let's move on to a new document. I'll draw a rectangle, convert it to an object, and go to the Filters panel to test the other filters. The first one is Blur. Increasing the blur softens the edges of the shape. I can also change the quality from low to high. This is the same filter we used earlier to create lighting effects. Next is glow. This filter adds a glow around the edges. When I enable it, a red glow appears. I can increase the glow size, change its color, or adjust the strength and quality settings. There's also inner glow, which creates the glow inside the shape instead of outside. Outer glow works on the outer edges. The knockout option here hides the inner fill of the object, leaving only the glow visible. The next filter is bevel, which gives the object a raised or embossed look. Increasing the distance makes the shape look three-dimensional. I can change the highlight and shadow colors, for example, using red to make the effect clear. The blur value here softens or sharpens the edges of the bevel. The strength slider controls the intensity of the bevel. Adjusting the angle changes the light direction, making it appear as if the light source is coming from above. In the type section, I can choose inner, outer, or full to decide where the bevel effect applies. And just like before, the quality can be set to low, medium, or high for better results. There's also a trash bin icon to completely delete the filter if needed. The next filter is Gradient Glow. It's similar to glow, but allows multiple colors in a gradient. For example, I can set the glow to transition from green to red. By adjusting blur, distance, and angle, I can fine-tune the look. If I want to remove a gradient color, I simply drag it down to delete it. This filter also supports inner, outer, and full modes, plus adjustable quality. Next is Gradient Bevel, which works like bevel but with gradient colors for multi-tone embossed effects. After that comes Adjust Color. This filter lets me change the appearance of an object. Brightness controls lightness or darkness. Hue shifts all colors to different tones. Saturation adjusts how vivid or dull the colors are. Contrast increases or decreases the difference between light and dark areas. This filter is very useful for creating visual variations. One important thing is that you can apply multiple filters to a single object at the same time. For example, I can first add a drop shadow and then add a blur on top of it. Now the object has both a shadow and a blur effect. You can stack as many filters as you like. If one is no longer needed, delete it, or click the gear icon and choose Remove All to clear them all at once. Another note, when you apply a filter to an object, it remains on that object across all frames, unless you remove it at a specific frame. For example, suppose the stage light turns off at frame 15. To remove the canvas shadow at that point, I go to the canvas symbol, create a few frames, select frame 15, and remove the shadow filter. From that frame onward, the canvas shadow disappears. If I want the shadow to come back later, I simply add the filter again in a new frame. Sometimes we need to use the same filter on multiple objects. In that case, click the gear icon on the first object's frame, select Copy All Filters, then go to another object's frame and choose Paste Filters. the exact same filter settings will be applied. If a shadow appears darker than expected, it might be because the filter was applied twice. Just delete one of them to fix it. For instance, if I've added a shadow to a painting, I can copy and paste it onto books, cushions, or a carpet, and they'll all have the same shadow. We can also temporarily disable a filter using the eye icon. We can also use the Enable All or Disable All options to turn filters on and off. And there's another option called Save as Preset. This lets us store the filter settings under a name, like Shadow 12, and reuse it on other objects later. Now I can select an object and apply the filter I saved to it from the Filters panel. So, as we've seen, in Adobe Animate we can apply many different filters: drop shadow, blur, glow, bevel, gradient glow, gradient bevel, and adjust color. Each one can be customized, combined, and animated to create professional-looking effects. That brings us to the end of this lesson. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like the video. Thanks for staying with me until the end. See you in the next video. Goodbye for now.